If you were to get Ebola, what would you do? I'm Lane.
And I'm Charlie.
Today, we will be discussing the horrific effects of the Ebola virus.
Ebola gained its first fatality in a village near the Ebola River in the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
Little did we know, this would continue to be one of the most problematic diseases we have seen.
The Ebola crisis started in 1976 when Ebola had its first breakout, killing a whopping 280 people.
These breakouts have continued even until current times, with 53 people dying in 2023, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
And this is just a sliver of Ebola's effects on the world, when it has done so much.
Ebola has also had a huge effect on advancements in the medical field by slowing down the process of curing other deadly diseases.
As well, Ebola has affected the economy by, as the International Monetary Fund said, crashing the economy of trade in many urban areas.
The main reason why we believe that Ebola is such a massive turning point in history is because of its disastrous outbreaks, which led to a large majority of the deaths.
The chart we have observed from www.johnsonsarchive.net proves that Ebola has killed almost as many people as it has infected.
JohnstonArchive.net also says that Ebola has a terrifying 75% death rate, which means over half of the people who get infected end up deceased.
Not only was it highly fatal, but it was known to start with large outbreaks in small villages.
In 2014, CBC News Channel claimed there were close to 10,000 confirmed cases in Guinea, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, Senegal, the United States, and Spain.
In these places, from just 2014 to 2016, there was 11,000 lives claimed from the Ebola virus.
The majority of these deaths were coming from cases in Sierra Leone, according to the International Monetary Fund.
You are probably wondering how Ebola is spread, right?
The answer to that question is that Ebola is spread through bodily fluids such as blood, feces, vomit, urine, semen, saliva, breast milk, vaginal fluids, pregnancy-related fluids, tears, and sweat.
Ebola was not only spread by humans, though.
Yes, that is true. We heard from an audio clip by the Global Health Media Project that it was spread by bats.
This is the story of how my village survived Ebola. Bats brought the tiny Ebola germs, too small to see, so small, yet so dangerous. Without realizing, grandfather rubbed a little blood in his eye. Ebola germs came into his body. Days went by. Then grandfather got a terrible fever and weakness. We thought it was malaria, but he was soon much worse. He had vomiting and diarrhea. His fever got even higher.
As you can see from this audio clip, Ebola can not only be spread by the bodily fluids of humans, but also other animals such as bats.
What's even scarier about Ebola is that you don't realize you're infected until you are already weakened by the effects of the virus and susceptible to dying. Once you realize you have Ebola, you will get a very high fever and then most likely get nauseous and vomit.
These symptoms can last up to 21 days, but on average last around 8 to 10 days.
This audio clip by the AFP news agency will lay out the symptoms of Ebola.
Ebola is a highly contagious and often deadly virus. People suffering from the disease are only infectious once they develop symptoms. These symptoms appear between 2 and 21 days after infection, usually from 8 to 10 days. The virus targets the body's immune cells. These usually act as a first line of defense, catching and digesting infections. Normally, the immune system is able to boost its defenses to fight off an attack, but the Ebola virus manages to defeat and even destroy immune cells, often ultimately leading to death. Early Ebola symptoms include sudden fever, a general feeling of weakness, muscular pain, headaches, and a sore throat. The virus then attacks and damages cells protecting the blood vessels. This causes bleeding, dehydration, and abnormally low blood pressure. The liver is an organ where the virus can develop quickly, meaning patients often suffer from stomach pain, diarrhea, and vomiting. Some people also experience reddening of the eyes, rashes, hiccups, difficulties breathing and swallowing, internal and external bleeding to death.
This clip should show you listeners how dangerous the Ebola virus truly was.
Our second reason why we believe Ebola is a very large turning point in history is that it crashed the economy in many urban areas.
The International Monetary Fund dispersed over $873 million as the epidemic was on the rise to help slow it down.
Then, as the situation began to calm down, the impact it had on the economy came into view.
There was a mass fall in employment and livelihoods and a decline in foreign investment.
The IMF also stated that Ebola caused major trade routes to be interrupted, causing some companies to lose immense amounts of money.
Therefore, you should be able to see how Ebola had such a major effect on the economy.
The last reason that makes us positive that the Ebola virus is a turning point in history is that it caused giant setbacks in the medical field for the treatment of other fatal diseases. In addition to the devastating effects on the healthcare workforce in Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone, the Ebola epidemic severely impacted the provisions of other healthcare services.
It also caused setbacks in the treatment and control of other serious diseases, including HIV and tuberculosis. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said that the focus doctors had to put on a vaccine for the Ebola virus caused other deadly diseases to not be seen as important.
This caused treatment for diseases such as HIV, tuberculosis, measles, and malaria to be overlooked in hospitals, causing many people to die.
This should show you even more why we believe that Ebola was a major problem for the world.
Ebola is one of the most horrific diseases the world has seen. We feel that this disease is terrifying because it is known to be deadly and spread very easily.
Not only did it spread fast and kill people, it struck fear into many people, stopping trade, which crashed the economy. It also caused setbacks to people trying to stop other scary diseases like malaria. Based on the evidence we have provided, how could you possibly not think that Ebola is a huge turning point in not only history but also the medical field?
If we didn't have the medical advancements that we acquired during Ebola's time, would we even have been able to deal with the catastrophic events COVID-19 caused? Thank you to the following websites: the CDC,
Daniel Barahulak's photo library,
the National Geographic YouTube channel,
the Global Health Media Project,
Britannica School,
the World Health Organization,
the CBC News Channel,
the Daily Herald,
ProQuest,
the U.S. Department of Labor,
the National Library of Medicine,
and last but certainly not least, the International Monetary Fund.
Thank you to all of these websites for having so much information.